Today we're going to learn about dialogic reading. This presentation is by Allie Hartley,
Lisa Snyder,
Alyssa Zaharia,
and Avery Borchers.
There are many benefits to book reading. Picture book reading provides children with important skills that are necessary for school readiness. Some of these skills include sound structure, the meaning of print within the context of books, the structure of stories and language, sustained attention, and vocabulary. Reading books exposes children to many new words and expands their vocabulary. Books often include unfamiliar words, repeat the same words in a variety of sentences throughout the book, and offer opportunities for the child to hear those same words over and over.
What is dialogic reading? Dialogic reading helps to create an interactive conversation about the story. The adult helps the child become the teller of the story. The adult becomes the listener, the questioner, and the audience for the child. It's just like no one can learn to play the piano just by listening to someone else play, no one can learn to read just by listening to someone else read. Reading interventions that more actively involve children are likely to give more positive results.
All right, now, so what books should you pick for dialogic reading? When picking a book, you should pick one that has a simple narrative plot. This is one that you can follow what exactly is happening without, you might not even need the words to help you read the book to the child. You want something that's predictable and repetitive text. You want something that has a limited amount of words per page. That way there is more of a focus on having a conversation about the pictures and what is happening, which also brings us to having plenty of illustrations that are showing a simple story for this conversation to happen.
Some tips for dialogic reading include making sure you introduce the main cover, including the author and the illustrator, follow the child's interests, mix up your prompts, praise and encourage participation, keep the reading fun and interactive, have at least one of each prompt within the story, and use post-it notes to help you remember what prompts you wanted to use.
All right, we wanted to give you an example of one of the tips and tricks that is on the slide, and that is making sure you look at the cover and talk about the author and the illustrator. So we were going to give you an example. I'm going to play the role of the teacher, and she is going to play the role of the student. All right, let's look at our book. The title of the book is Biscuits Day at the Farm, and we have the author's name is Alyssa Zaharia. Who is the author?
I think they write the book.
Oh, yeah. And then we also have the illustrator, who is Pat Schwartz. What does the illustrator do?
They draw all the pictures.
Oh, nice job. And we see on the front cover that we have a puppy and a pig. Who do we think they are?
I think this one's Biscuit, and I don't know who the pig is. Maybe Biscuit's friend?
Oh, yeah. We'll have to find out and read more in the book.
Using prompts to build the conversation. This makes up the acronym CROWD. The first one is completion. The second one is recall. The third one is open-ended. The fourth is WH questions. And the fifth is distancing.
The first prompt is completion. This is when you leave a blank at the end of a sentence and then you let the child fill that blank in. These are typically used in books with rhymes or books with repetitive phrases.
We are going to show you the prompt completion, which is where you set up your student to fill in the end of your statement. And you want to make sure that you know exactly what their response should be, so that way you know if where they're going to go with the prompt. So, for example, on this picture, we see the puppy is sleeping with the
pig.
Oh, yeah, the puppy is sleeping with the pig. And that would be an example of completion.
Now we're going to look at recall prompts, which are questions about what happened in a book a child has already read. Recall prompts work for nearly everything except alphabetic books. You want to be able to recall something in the book that the child has already read.
All right, now we're going to do the prompt recall. And that is where you want to talk about the story, and then at one point ask the student a question about what they had just heard to establish a little bit of remembering something about the book. So in this example, we see in this picture that the piglet jumped out of the pen. And then the little girl is starting to realize that she needs to go feed the sheep. Can you tell me who jumped out of the pen?
The piglet jumped out of his pen.
Yeah, the piglet jumped out of its pen.
Right, so open-ended prompts are prompts that focus on the pictures in books. They work best for books that have rich, detailed illustrations.
This prompt is open-ended question. So it's where you want to give a question to the student that requires them to tell you a little bit more about about what they're seeing and what they're reading about. So for this example, the geese are running out of the pen and they're chasing the dog and the pig. Can you tell me what happens in these pictures?
Looks like the dog's running and the pig's running and all of the geese are trying to escape out of their pen.
Oh, they're trying to escape out of their pen. Yeah.
WH prompts are prompts that usually begin with what, where, when, why, and how questions. Like open-ended prompts, WH prompts focus on the pictures in books.
Okay, and this prompt is the WH question prompt, and it's where you ask the child a WH question pertaining about the pictures that they're seeing within the book. So for example here, this puppy says, woof, woof, we can feed the hens biscuits. Oh, they're feeding all the hens. Why do you think she's feeding the chickens?
I think probably because they're hungry.
Oh, they're probably hungry. That's a good idea.
Distancing prompts ask children to relate the pictures or words that they find in the book to their own real-life experiences that happen outside of the book.
And the final prompt that we have is the distancing prompt. It's where you're going to ask a question to the student, having them think outside of the story about something that might pertain to their own life and something that can connect them to the story. So for this example, we see that the little girl is hanging out at the farm and she needs help and she's asking her puppy to help her. Have you ever been to the farm?
Yeah, I just went to the farm last weekend with my family.
Oh, that's so awesome. We'll have to see what she does at the farm.
All right, now that you've learned all the awesome prompts you can use within dialogic reading, I wanted to give you a sequence to help you utilize those prompts within the context of dialogic reading. And this peer sequence is a fundamental reading technique and to help facilitate that short interaction between the child and the adult while using one of those prompts. The P in peer is prompting the child to say something about the book. E, evaluate the child's response. E, expand the child's response by rephrasing and adding information to it. And R, repeating the prompt to make sure the child has learned from your expansion.
Dialogic reading intervention promotes the opportunity for multiple exposures. With each reading, the focus of instruction can change as students build background knowledge of the story. In the first reading, the focus may be introducing new vocabulary such as objects within the story or words of importance to the comprehension of the story. In the next reading, now that the students have an understanding of the new vocabulary words, the instructor can now ask the students questions about basic concepts such as why people are doing something or what happened to a character in the story. By the third reading, the child is able to relate what they have learned to their own experience. When a child experiences repeated readings of the same book through dialogic reading, the child is exposed to and learns more words, which helps to increase oral language proficiency.
Now let's test your knowledge. We have 5 questions to help summarize key points of dialogic reading.
Question 1. Which of the following is not a prompt included in dialogic reading? A. Recall prompts. B. Distancing prompts. C. Self-monitoring prompts. D. WH prompts.
What type of prompt helps the child relate the book to a real-life situation? A. Recall prompt. B. Distancing prompt. C. Open-ended prompt. Or D. None of the above.
When choosing books for dialogic reading, you should choose books that have A. Repetitive text, B. Simple plots, C. Lots of illustrations, or D. All of the above.
Which example exhibits the use of the completion prompt? A. Asking the child, what is the setting? B. Asking a child, do you go to the park with your family? C. Having the child finish your statement, Charlie the fish is the color. Or D. Asking the child their favorite food to eat at a birthday.
What is dialogic reading? A. A specific type of storybook. B. An interactive conversational intervention about a book. C. Using different voices when reading from a book. D. Having the child read the book to you.